Scott, this could upset some fans as Star Wars Outlaws locks Jabba the Hutt mission behind the $110 premium edition. It's Chris Scullion over at VGC. As detailed on the game's website, the game season pass will include 2 additional narrative expansions coming after launch, as well as additional cosmetic items. However, it was also included a day 1 exclusive mission with Jabba, called Jabba's Gambit. Just as Kay is putting together a crew for the Canto Bight heist. Weird title, man. We'll get, I'm sure, in a better understanding as we get into the game of that one, but she receives a job from Jabba the Hutt himself. The mission description reads, "Turns out the ND5 owes Jabba a debt from years ago, and he has come to collect." End quote. Because the mission season pass exclusivity, players expecting access to every mission on day 1 won't have it with the standard $70 edition of the game. Instead, they'll have to buy the $110 gold edition or the $130 ultimate edition, both of which include the season pass, in order to gain access to the Jabba the Hutt Gambit mission. Season passes are nothing new. It's often the case that games will launch with an optional paid season pass, which offers players a collection of content to come at a later date at a cheaper price than paying it for each item individually as it's released. Players tend to accept the idea of a season pass because it implies that the development team will continue working on the development of the content after the game has been released. Thus, players are essentially paying more money for new parts being added to it. Historically, less acceptable to many, however, has been when games charge extra for content that is ready to play by the game's day release. That's the biggest thing right there, Scott, right? This feels like it should be part of something that's already included in the game. Instead, they're putting it behind a paywall. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't like the idea of day 1 content that's, like you said, available. It's ready to go day 1, but
yeah.
I'm only mildly relieved, and this is where we're at in the state of the industry. I'm only mildly relieved that this isn't 3 days early access and Jabba the Hutt's thing. I'm so tired of that early access day 1 kind of incentives, day -1 incentives. So this is irritating in some regard, but
sure,
it does. It kind of blends in though, because this is slow changes have been happening over time where now we're okay with day 1 content seemingly. So this is allowed to happen. But it's not part of this. It's weird to me. Can I buy it after the fact a la carte? And I don't believe there's a distinct answer on that yet.
I don't think so. I think it's part of the season pass. So you have to get, if you want that mission. Now, granted, I'm sure Star Wars Outlaws is full of content where you probably don't need that mission, right? There'll be something there. There'll be lots
sure hope so.
for you to go and explore and play, and that you're not really, man, I'm missing out. But is that one of the best missions? Like, that's the other side of it. Here we go. Base game, $70, right? The season pass goes up to $110. So you're telling me it's worth your season pass? Is it? Most times, Scott, we get a season passes. They're anywhere between $13 to $20. This one's $40, unless you want the ultimate edition, which is then $130. And the only thing I can say is, yo, speak with your wallet, right? Don't buy it if you don't want to. But this is what's happening, and this is why we're covering it, because we want to be able to explain to you what you're getting into when Star Wars Outlaws does launch on August 30th. This is what's going to happen. So you have options here. Which way do you want? How bad do you want to play this Jabba the Hutt mission? Yo, me, I'm all in. Dude, I can't wait for this game. I think it looks cool. I think it's going to be a ton of stuff to do. But again, am I going to get to this mission in time? Do I even care? Do I want the season pass? What does this season pass even look like? There's still so many other questions that lead into this. Is it worth the $110? Or do you buy the $40 season pass later on?
Well, if it is large narrative space missions, it could justify the $40. It certainly is Star Wars property. Jabba the Hutt is an interesting idea to hide that behind a paywall. It makes a lot of sense, but
sure.
It's Ubisoft day 1 though. That has me a little worried. Day 1 incentives for a Ubisoft game in general. They're one of my favorite developers, but day 1s aren't usually clean.
No game ever launches perfect, right? That's the other side of it too. Know what you're getting into. A lot of people will wait until they get the day 1 patch or the 3-month later patch, and then you get the proper version of the game sometimes, right? That's just how it works. They need to get it out because they have investors that they need to hit their target, and they put the game out. we'll see how this works. We'll see how it pans out. But at the end of the day, I'm like, man, it's a day one thing. Like, shouldn't you just include that within the game? Give it to the players? But, dude, Ubisoft is a business. At the end of the day, they got to keep the lights on. And this is one of those options and opportunities that help them keep the lights on, right? So I get it's a business decision at the end of the day to lock this content of Jabba the Hutt behind a paywall. I'm just curious how many people dive into this $40 season pass. Which, on the other side of it, though, right? It's, dude, if you're really liking the game, there's more content for you to play. And I think that's the other side of it. If it is good, dude, I want to stick around, right? I want that game. I want to be able to say I'm invested in. This is what I'm playing, right? Right now, I still hear a lot of people talking about Dragon's Dogma 2. And I'm like, man, I haven't been able to dive in yet. I've just been on so many other things, but I'm missing that conversation. And I'm just one of those guys who like to stay up to date, be involved, and keep in on that conversation. And if it goes into that conversation with Star Wars Outlaws, yo, I'm going to be there on day one for sure. But how far do you take it? But again, like, right, it's what we say, speak with your wallet, and that'll tell Ubisoft how many people want to speak with their wallet, or are they just going to buy the $130 edition? Dude, Mortal Kombat 1 drop. I paid like $150 for that edition. So I was all in, knowing, right, that I'm going to go the long run.
That's making a little bit of an investment there, and you're a big fan of them forever. They justified it over the last several decades. I can only say, yeah, you must vote with your wallet, spend with your wallet, because that's what these companies are actually listening to. And if you want to be a conscious consumer, that's the only way you can affect change. So perhaps wait till they justify that content if you are of that mind. That's how I think of it now.
Yeah, no one says you have to jump in and get the season pass right away, right? You can jump in, play the base game, and if it clicks, then you're in for the long haul. So, just options. I think this is the biggest thing, is just it brings opportunity and different options to the gamers, to the player base, to see which one you're going. Very curious to see where people sit with this. How comfortable are you jumping in right away without even playing the game for $110? Is that something that's feasible for you? Do you have that income to go, yeah, you know what, I'm going to jump in. I think this game looks great, just like we do here, and we'll see how it goes. Or you go like, no, I'm just going to hold off on the season pass. We'll see how Ubisoft comes to the table first. But either way, stay up to date with all of our content over at ITGTV.com.